2021 was a very busy and eventful year here at Design to the Nines. We saw a lot of growth. We did a lot of projects. We got a new assistant. This is the DIY Dolly. Say hello. She's a cockapoo for those who are interested, and I got braces, and that's what you can hear. But we did a lot of amazing DIY projects this year, and today I'm going to be going over my top 21 favorite DIY projects for 2021. They may not be the most viewed on my channel. They may be a little different from your list. So sit back, relax. Let's see if your favorite DIY project made my list. For this episode, it's gonna be kind of like a highlights reel. I'm gonna kind of talk about some of the things I liked about the projects, maybe some things that didn't work out quite right. But I will include the full-length tutorials for all of my projects that I will be sharing with you today. So if you're looking for that, you just click on the little caret for the description box below the video, and it will expand and it will give you the list of all the full-length tutorials for these DIYs. My first one that I'm going to be sharing with you today is a renter-friendly fireplace makeover. So 2 years ago, I did a full fireplace wall makeover. I had this blank canvas and I surprised myself. I totally surprised myself, built this huge fireplace with built-in bookcases on either side. I had no idea that I could do that, and that's what's wonderful about this channel is you're gonna hopefully discover, even like myself, that you have some hidden talents and some skills and that you can do powerful things, and that's what we are trying to achieve on my channel. So I built this big fireplace wall, and then I had a lot of requests for a renter-friendly version of this. For somebody who maybe isn't staying around for a while, that they have a fireplace no matter where they go, and it's gonna feel like a piece of home. So that's what I set out to do on this first one. Now, it wasn't like a massively viewed video, but I think some of you are a little nervous to use power tools, and I don't want you to be, because you are more powerful than you know. That is what I'm telling you all the time on my channel. You are gonna find out that you might be kind of good at it. So I took some scrap wood, I put together kind of like an outer shell, and then I added some trim to it, and instead of doing like a faux brick, which I did on my bigger fireplace unit, I went ahead and used some peel and stick tiles for the surround, and that was really handy. And then for the mantle, I went ahead and used Briar Smoke gel stain. I love gel stain because a little goes a long way, which is more of like, the Briar Smoke's a little bit more of like a gray undertone. And then on my big fireplace, I of course used Kona gel stain, which is much darker, much richer. But the best feature about this fireplace is that I put wheels on the bottom, so that when it comes time to move, all you need to do is push it right out the door and onto the truck, and then when you get to your new place, you wheel it back into your house. Super easy, no lifting. Wheels, amazing. That feature I really, really love. Then next up, we did, and this is a part of a whole room makeover. You'll be able to see little elements of it. I'm not really featuring room makeovers a part of this top 21 list, but maybe little elements here and there. We built a mirrored barn door, and that was a lot of fun. We just used a piece of lumber, which lumber was kind of expensive in 2021. I'm hoping the prices are coming down a little bit, but we used some lumber and some trim and then some mirrors from IKEA, and we just glued those down, added some trim around it, and then we did kind of like a weathered washed wood effect on the barn door, and then we put it on wheels and wheeled it, and it was really good. And I really loved how it turned out. By the end of this, I will have hopefully piqued your interest into maybe playing around with some power tools coming up in 2022, because I think you might surprise yourself, and I would love it if you got brave enough to do that. Next up was another element from my bedroom makeover, which was a grid wall. Now in the past I've done like a full length batten board wall, and this time I did a grid wall because I have textured walls. It kind of has like an orange peel texture onto the wall. I didn't want to like skim coat it and sand it and make all of that mess and all of that time. The trick for that is you go and get really thin masonite type wood and you attach it to the walls, and luckily for me, my walls were 8 feet. The sheet of masonite was 8 feet. So all I had to do was kind of very strategically attach that to my walls. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I was manhandling them myself, and so they're a little floppy. It was a little interesting experience, but we did get those up. And then we hid the seams with some flat molding, and we did top and then bottom. Then we did the vertical, I always get those messed up, but vertical pieces, and then we went across on the horizon. That's how you remember. Horizontal pieces, then very painstakingly caulked and puttied all the seams, all the nail holes, and sanded those out beautiful. And then we primed and painted our grid wall. And it really provided an amazing backdrop for a beautiful bed that I got. Overall, really amazing room makeover. I love how that turned out. Another element to that bedroom makeover and our next DIY is an IKEA dresser hack. This was a Hemnes dresser. You've seen one, you've seen them all. You know, you can get them in white, you can get them in brown, and I think they even come in a gray color now. But I wanted to spice it up a little, give it a little bit of personality. So we added some trim, a lot of trim. And this was a really good beginner project to work with power tools, because some of it we worked with power tools and some of it we actually used some miter shears to clip some of the trim, and then we used a little brad nailer to nail it all into place, which was awesome. Makes very quick work of it. Once we had all the trim in place and everything sanded and puttied and all of that, we went ahead and primed and gave it 2 coats of paint, and then we added some beautiful crystal knobs. But the crazy part of this process was that we painted the dresser with all of the clothes in it, and I showed you a little painting hack of how to keep that all protected. I might have been a little bit crazy, but it worked out because the dresser ended up being very beautiful. I love this dresser hack, but what do you think? Was this one of your favorite projects of the year? Next up was kind of like a fun, I don't know if it's like a thrift flip. We got the canvas at a yard sale for $10. This gigantic canvas, but I didn't really love what was on it. So I cut out some vinyl on my Cricut machine that said, "It's so good to be home." And we heat pressed that saying, and it was very big, onto some canvas. Very careful to get it on the front and the back, really pressed it well into place. Then we took that canvas, which was like just painter's drop cloth, and we stretched it on the outside of this canvas and stapled it into place. So I go north, south, east, west, or whatever that is. But I work from top to bottom, side to side, moving from the center out until we get to the corners, and you kind of fold them like you would, kind of like tucking in a sheet. And then it was finished. But then I didn't stop there. I wanted it to have a little bit of a wood frame, so I just took some simple 1x3s that were in my scrap pile, kind of gave them a stain, and I believed I used an antiquing wax on that wood. I like the antiquing wax because it gives it kind of a stain, but it dries really fast and there's none of that stain residue kind of hanging out. You know what I'm talking about. And then I nailed that into place. Now the idea is that I could basically kind of remove everything I wanted and reuse that artwork if I wanted to. But this is a great way to get a really large piece of art on a budget. So you can go to most thrift stores have these really large scale pieces of art. A lot of times they're very inexpensive looking. So think outside of the box, use that as a frame and a basis for a new art that would work for your space. But I really love how this turned out. What do you think? So we had a lot of fun with IKEA hacks this year. Our next DIY is a fire bowl that we hacked from an IKEA like terracotta bowl pot. The first thing we did was, well, I don't remember what order I did this in, so hopefully I get this right. Okay, I think I painted the outside first in 2 coats of black paint. But then we painted the inside of this huge bowl in a very beautiful gold paint. And it really had this really beautiful look to it. But we were turning this into a fire pit. So I kind of like stacked a bunch of empty bags and stuff from the rocks underneath of the bottom of the bowl because I didn't want it to weigh 1,000 pounds. So I filled it up with some random bags and such, and then I covered it with some black stones, the shiny black stones that you can get from the Dollar Tree. They're really pretty. And then I kind of put these cans, 3 of them, inside these rocks, and then I covered up those as well, so that at night we had this little outdoor fire bowl. It was so beautiful for roasting marshmallows. I ended up putting it in my patio makeover, and it is such a fun thing to have at night. We ended up putting out like an outdoor movie screen on that, and I cannot wait to do like one on just room makeovers because I really had some fun room makeovers this year as well. But we're focusing on the DIY projects today. But this is such an elegant thing to have. It's beautiful. I love how this fire bowl turned out, but what do you think? And another IKEA hack that I ended up doing was making a French document stamp pillow. Now, when I first started decorating my home, I was decorating it with it kind of being a vacation rental in mind. Since then, because of COVID and some other things, we've kind of decided not to use this home in the future as a vacation rental. So I started to switch how I was decorating and decorate for me. And I'm really kind of leaning more towards like a French country style, kind of like a relaxed, kind of earthy French country style, and you're gonna start seeing that creep in on my channel. I've got a room makeover coming up very soon, my dining room, and you're really gonna see some of those French country elements coming through, and I'm really excited. I hope you like it. But I made this French document stamp pillow out of the beautiful, they look kind of like linen, but they're not, pillow covers from IKEA, and I didn't want it to have a very harsh look. So I could have probably used a heat transfer vinyl, but I kind of wanted that like worn in look that you get like on a grain sack. What I did is I initially was going to try to trace it on. It didn't really work out. So I ended up rubbing on some like removable vinyl onto the pillow, and that was just acted as a stencil. And then I took, get this, a kind of a gold permanent marker and filled in that stencil everywhere it was, and then I removed the vinyl off of the pillow. And sure enough, over time, it really has that kind of time-worn look. It's beautiful. I love that pillow. I ended up moving it up into my master bedroom. It's super cute, and it really does have that time-worn feel. Initially, it still looked great, but it really looked better even over time, and it's one of my favorites of the year. All right, so I'm gonna throw in a Christmas DIY because it was so much fun. I did a Pottery Barn knockoff of this Mary sign, and the original inspiration sign was literally like $500. That doesn't include tax, that doesn't include shipping, so it probably could have been, you know, anywhere between $500 or $600 for this sign. And it just so happened that I literally had everything I needed on hand. I used scrap wood, some shiplap that was left over from my fireplace build from 2 years ago. I used some old Christmas lights. I had everything, so it ended up costing me nothing. But even if you were to like recreate it from scratch, I think I had it around $45. It was like less than 10% of the original cost, and it looks so good. And I know I said it in that episode, but I really do prefer my version over theirs, not only for the cost savings, but because I made my letters a little bit larger. I just thought it looked really, really fun. And so that one was such a fun one. I know that it's a Christmas DIY, but it's really one of my favorites of the entire year. I adore this sign, and I hope you did too. Okay, I did a lot of thrift flips this year. They were so much fun. I love like taking something that somebody else discarded, somebody else's trash became my treasure, and just with a little bit of love, a little bit of TLC, really giving something new life. I just love that. It's like a diamond in the rough, right? Anyways, I found this Ethan Allen chair, and it was covered in dust and dirt, and it was in like an old barn at this thrift store. And I saw it, but I saw the potential in it. And so what we ended up doing is that briar smoke gel stain over the top of the wood, and then we did kind of like a whitewash over that. So it kind of like gave it a little bit French country flair and updated it a little bit for me. And then I covered it in kind of a canvas drop cloth, the cushion, and then I felt like the seat was a little flat. So we took a pillow and we made a custom cushion to sit on top of it. And this $40 chair by Ethan Allen got whole new life. Ethan Allen chairs are not cheap, y'all. They're expensive. So if we were to buy a brand new Ethan Allen French country chair, we would have been, oh, I don't know. I haven't even priced it recently, maybe $1,500 to $2,000. I might be off on that, but I think it's pretty close to where it would be. And we did it for pennies on the dollar. The chair was so cute. I loved it. But what do you think? For another thrift flip that I did, I had this old TV stand. It's the kind that you can see in anyone's like first apartment. It was kind of like pressed wood with like laminate top over it. Very generic. I mean, really generic. Nothing special about it at all. I was thinking of just sending it to the thrift store, and I decided that I thought the shape and the size and everything about it would make a really amazing bench. So that's what we did, is we converted this TV stand into a bench with just a little bit of elbow grease. I went out to my scrap pile. I had a lot of scrap wood from various projects. We have whittled it down. It is nowhere near where it was. My husband's very happy about that. So I took some, whatever I had in the scrap pile for the top, and we kind of just made a new top on it. I also used some of that shiplap that we had left over, some more of that shiplap that I used on the Mary sign, we used on the back of this TV stand, and we ran it kind of this way. And then we painted like the bottom half all black, and the back shiplap we did in a really pretty robin egg blue that is kind of a color in my house that you'll see a theme of. And it was just like a little pop of color, real subtle, but really, really beautiful. And then we stained the wood on the top. Then I decided I needed a little extra wood, so I went to the home improvement store, got a little bit of trim, trimmed it out a little bit more, and the finished version was so amazing. I love how this bench turned out. Not only is it beautiful, but it's very functional and it gets used all the time, so I love it. What do you think? Do you have a TV stand hanging out that you might want to turn into a bench? If you like what you're seeing so far and you want to see more of it coming up in 2022, I would love it if you stuck around by hitting the subscribe button. A lot of you who watch my channel regularly haven't subscribed yet. I know, can you believe it? I think it's something like more than like 65% that regularly watch my channel have not hit that subscribe button, but hitting that subscribe button as well as the like button really helps me to bring you more content, and I would love it if you stuck around and hung out with me in the new year, because I've got a lot planned coming forward. In the woods, under Our next DIY that we did in 2021 that is one of my favorites, I participated a lot in the mystery box challenge, and I think a lot of you really enjoyed that challenge. It's a lot of fun. What this is all about is somebody will send me a whole bunch of random things in a box plus 2 challenge items that are considered really hard, and then you have to convert them into beautiful decor. Well, on this one that I'm including in the list, they sent me a dog bone. Let's see. Oh my. But I also received a fish, and I'm going to talk about the fish a little bit more in a second. Well, I'm going to include a couple of those mystery box challenge items. They ended up making my favorite list of the year, which is kind of crazy because they were really hard. And so with the dog bone, I was able to kind of use that in a little bit of a creative way to create some concrete pucks that we ended up turning into a beautiful candelier. And the way we did it is I took a couple of wood wreath forms, attached them together with some construction adhesive, went around the outer rim using some half wood beads, and then the inner rim using some wood beads, and half wood beads again, and attached them. Then I went over the top and kind of gave it a grayed out weathered wood look by, you know, painting it all a solid color, and then going back over with some antiquing glaze and whitewash glaze and gray, and it looked really cool. I love how it turned out. I started out with like a mineral, as that mineral chalk paint was the base color again. And then we took some wine goblets, like the stemless ones from Dollar Tree, and attached those to our concrete pucks and attached those to our little wood ring, and then we put candles in there. We hung it from a chain, and I thought it would look beautiful outside, even though those wood rings are really not waterproof, so you want to make sure that it's on a nice night. I thought it would look beautiful for a wedding. I thought it would look beautiful for a romantic picnic. It looked beautiful in your decor, but I really loved this project. It was one of my favorite of the year. How do you think I did? I know some people thought I stretched the envelope on that particular challenge piece, thinking that I could have used it a little bit better, but I kind of used it more as like a form rather than the actual DIY itself. But I did use some on my next ones, which are, for my next 2, they were also mystery box challenge items. The first one was like this big, huge lawn bag. It was like super cheap material, cheap looking. It was not cute. But what I ended up doing with it was something that I've been wanting to do for a while. I found like an inspiration picture on Pinterest somewhere of these kind of cement planters that look like a bag. And I'm like, this is the perfect opportunity because here I have this bag. So what I did is I kind of sewed it down a little bit smaller because the bag was really large. If I'm gonna make a concrete bag, I didn't want it to weigh like 1,000 pounds. It was super messy, but first we put in a little bit of concrete, then we put a bucket, then we filled all around the sides of the bucket with concrete, and then I took a big nautical rope and kind of tied that up top, and we let that sit for a couple of days. And I was the whole time going, I don't know if this is gonna work. But then I went ahead and I removed everything, very carefully removed the bag, got rid of it, and then we put on a new rope. I'm telling you, it was such a cute planter. This floral planter was amazing, and it all started from this challenge piece, and it just goes to show you that if you think outside the box, you can really come up with some amazing things. And I was able to come up with this really fun cement bag that I still have. Super cute. But what do you think? So in that same box, the other challenge item was a fish, a wood fish. And I'm like, what on earth am I gonna do with a wood fish? As I explained in that episode, when I think of fish, I either think of sushi, which is my favorite food in the whole world. A little interesting fact about me. The other thing I think of is fishing. And when I think of fishing, I think of my cousin Alec. And this was a kind of a tribute piece this year. Alec was just the most amazing kid you could ever meet in your entire life. Super sweet, super kind, and totally without guile. This kid was like an angel. And unfortunately, Alec got cancer when he was about 12 years old, or maybe he was like 11. And he fought really, really hard. He was such a good kid. He never complained. And in fact, the last thing that he was able to do before he passed away, like a week or two later, was he went on a big fishing trip in Alaska and went deep sea fishing. And so I made a tribute stepping stone to my cousin Alec, and I gifted it to my aunt, and she loved it. It really meant a lot to her. That one really hit me right in the feels. And I kept crying the entire time I made it. I know it probably didn't show it on that episode, but it was really therapeutic in a healing way, and I hope that you can take some inspiration from that idea and maybe find a way to personalize a stepping stone for somebody in somebody's honor. I mean, honestly, that's what life is all about. It's about family and remembering those who you loved along the way, and that one was a really meaningful one, and it all started from a silly fish that I got in a mystery box, and then the creativity just went from there. So I hope you enjoyed that. I really love that one. It's really meaningful. Okay, so for our next one, I was trying to get a little bit more organized last year. I am definitely gonna try to get more organized going into 2022. I'm a creative, and so I'm not naturally organized, but it really is on my New Year's resolutions here coming up. 2022, I am gonna get more organized. Anyways, for one of my projects that I'm really proud of last year, we made a pegboard for my craft room. I know it's kind of a random thing to put on a DIY list, but it really turned out cute. It was super easy to build and put together. And I used some scrap wood, I used a little trim, a little pegboard, and I put all the hooks on and the baskets, and it has really helped me to stay organized in 2021. I've got a ways to go, but we're all growing, right? But I really loved this DIY. I hope you did too. If you watch my channel, you'll know that I love these outdoor deck spindles because you can do so much with them. I'm constantly finding ways to use them. I know, like, one of these times I'm gonna do 101 ways to use a spindle. And one of those that I did this year was a faux farm scale. And I used a spindle to kind of make the base, and then I added like something as the foundation to kind of hold it into place so it's not wobbly. And then we stuck some arms out the side, and then we built some faux hanging scales. It's a little bit more intricate, so if that's something that you want to replicate, you're definitely going to want to watch the full-length tutorial on that. And it was super easy to put together. There's just a lot of little steps, but totally a doable project. I had seen scales like this on a lot of Pinterest sites and Instagram pages. I just decided to go ahead and make one myself, and I love how it turned out. But what do you think? Another spindle project I did was kind of this hanging arm thing, and I honestly think I am kind of leaning towards making another one, but even bigger. And what I did is I took like a thick paint stick and a spindle. I kind of cut off the spindle, screwed them together, maybe put like a little decorative bracket in the corner for added support, and then painted the whole thing in black chalk paint mixed with baking soda to add some texture. And then I went back in with some kind of metallic black paint that kind of really gave it this iron look. And then I attached some screw hooks into it so that we could hang this round sign. And the first time I used it was in a fall one, and then I flipped it over and I put Choose Joy on it, which I did in a Christmas episode recently, but I think that I could use the Choose Joy sign year round, and then we could switch it out with the seasons and do different sayings. But that little kind of hanging sign idea I loved, and what was awesome about it, it was like pennies on the dollar to build. It was like the whole thing was like less than $5. It's a really cool effect. I really like the idea of this. I think it has a lot of possibilities. I may do a larger version in the new year. If that's something you'd like to see, comment below and let me know. But I really love how this one turned out. I love the flexibility of being able to switch out the sign. But what do you think? Like I mentioned before, we did a lot of room makeovers, and so I have a couple of DIY projects from those room makeovers that I really loved. And the first one is kind of, well, I'm gonna kind of pack two into one, even though they're two different ones. But the main one was I did kind of like a faux brick wall using some cheap brick paneling that you can get at Home Depot. And what I did to make it look really cool and realistic is I just took some joint compound and kind of went over the top of this paneling to hide the seam, to hide our screws and all of that was holding it into place, but also to kind of mimic mortar, and it kind of gave it like a German schmear, as they say, look, and it has this really industrial vibe. And because of that, that bathroom is, I mean, like every time I do a room makeover, I'm like, that's my new favorite room. That's my new favorite room. But I really love that bathroom. And just kind of as a side note, but it is kind of one of my favorite DIYs, and that's why I'm kind of lumping it into this one. I made a sign on my Cricut machine that said fresh and clean, and it was kind of three-dimensional and kind of popped off the wall in that bathroom, and it turned out really cute. But the faux brick wall was so easy, so inexpensive. I mean, I think it was less than like $75, $80, and the impact that it had in that bathroom was like night and day. It was like, phew. It was awesome. I love that brick wall, and I have a feeling that I might reuse that idea coming up in the future in some of my room makeovers. I think it's really cool. What did you think of that project? Was that on your list? Kind of on that note, my next DIYs are in my other bathroom makeover that I did this year, and I am gonna start with the vanity. So the vanity was plain builder grade cabinet, a cinnamon maple finish. You can see them anywhere. But I really wanted it to look kind of custom and like a piece of furniture without putting in something new or spending a ton of money. So in my scrap pile, I had some leftover masonite that I used on other projects, the same masonite that I used on the wall in my bedroom makeover. And I was able to, I got a new toy this year. I got a table saw, and it was the first time I got to try out, but I ripped them down into like, I think it was like either 4 or 5 inch widths, and then I filled them in and kind of made it look like a shiplap look. And I left a little gap in between, and I glued it to the fronts of these doors. And then I did it on the side near the toilet as well, using the same idea, and then I trimmed that out, and then I painted the whole thing black, and then I added some new gold hardware, and I am telling you, the transformation is so incredible. I'm probably gonna do it on another bathroom makeover that I'm gonna be doing in the upcoming year, but I'm gonna put a slightly different twist on it, but like the structure of that will be, I think, pretty similar, just because I liked it so much. It may be a different color. You'll have to stay tuned to see what I'm talking about on that. But I love this vanity makeover. It was such a good bang for the buck, like pennies on the dollar, and it totally transformed it. And on that note, in the same bathroom, I had a builder grade light fixture, and I did something kind of unconventional and crazy, and I get a ton of questions on this vanity light, so I've got answers for you in this episode as well. So what I did is I left it in place, and I ended up chalk painting the metal on it black. And then I also added used some gold rub and buff and added some gold detailing to it as well. But here's where it got totally crazy, and I was kind of questioning my sanity on it a little bit, because I'm like, I don't know if this is a good idea or not. But the shape of the lampshade was super awesome. I loved the shape of it, and I was pricing them out online, and I'm like, why would I buy something that is already like the same shape and spend money on it? Let's try to spray paint the frosted glass. And people are like, can you even do that? I didn't know. What I can tell you is I spray painted those frosted glass in a flat black spray paint, and I gave it a couple of coats and let it thoroughly dry. And I can tell you, I don't know what it's been, like 4 or 5 months. There's no bubbling, no scratching. It's in a bathroom. I mean, there is a bathroom fan in it, but there has been no problems whatsoever with that light fixture. And I absolutely love how it turned out, so much so that I'm gonna do the same thing in the other bathroom. I'm giving you all kinds of spoilers, but I promise the bathroom will look a lot different because I've got some specific different things for that bathroom. But it turned out tremendous, and we discovered that you can paint those frosted glass covers if you do it correctly. But for me, it worked out really great, and I hope that you take inspiration from that. We are getting close to the end, and I have a couple more of my favorites, and I'm really excited. Okay, the first one is a blanket ladder. Now, I decided to knock off a blanket ladder by Pottery Barn. I don't remember exactly how much it was, but it was probably around $200, their version. And I went and got some inexpensive 2x2 lumber and then like some round dowels. And we took a drill and used a wood boring bit to kind of drill out some holes for those, glued it together, put a couple of nails in, then stained it out in an antiquing glaze. They looked almost identical, and mine was super cheap. I don't even remember what it was, like 10 bucks, maybe 15 at the most. And that's because lumber was super expensive last year, remember? I have used this ladder in bathroom. It's super cute. Love the blanket ladder. It's so adorable. And saving money, we love that. What do you think? Last but certainly not least, in fact, it's one of my favorites I've ever done, is I designed this scroll table. It's a kind of like it is C-shaped, I guess, and it's meant to slide over the arm of a sofa. So I have this scroll dining table and scroll bench, and then I had another scroll table, and I wanted to make one for the other side, but I didn't want it to take up a bunch of real estate because the sofa was already super big. So I kind of took the idea of those elements, created like a design, which I gave away for free. I'm always giving you away free printables and things to help you get the job done. So if that's something you like, you want to stick around, because I love giving you stuff for free. But I gave away this design and we built it. So we just took a jigsaw, jigsawed out all of the scroll work, gave it a good sand down, attached a base, attached a top, and then painted it out, stained it out, added some trim. It turned out really cute, and I was really, really proud of myself because not only did I design it, if I were to redo it, I would change a few things, but overall, it just kind of snugs right on to the end of my sofa. It was awesome, and it was super inexpensive to make and looks like it was professionally made. So I was really, really excited about that. But what do you think? So in the past, I've really made some interesting predictions. In 2019, I had predicted that 2020 was going to be an amazing year. Here's the deal. No matter what's going on in the world around us, we really try to keep it upbeat and positive on my channel, inspire you to do things around your home, hopefully inspire you to do things that you never thought were possible. I would love it if you stuck around for a while and joined me in 2022 because I've got a lot of fun stuff planned. And I think the more the merrier. So how did this list line up with yours? Did I leave something off? If I did, comment below and let me know what should have made my top 21 list this year that was your favorite. Or did they totally align? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this episode, here's another one that I think you'll like as well. And if you haven't done so already, again, hit that subscribe button right there. I'd love it if you join the DIY Niner family. And to all of my DIY Niners, I just want to remind you that you are more powerful than you know. We'll see you next time. Bye.